Seems like everybody's running or just trying to get away. Seems like everyone's talking with nothing to say. Some are dancing in the bright lights, others dying in the dark. Everybody wants to go, we just don't want to start. Oh, we stay here a while, and I'll make you smile about something. Stay here a while, and I'll make you smile. Faith is flying down a freeway, mercy's holding to the end. Fear is trembling in the cheap seats, trying not to sin. God is hanging in the ghettos, devil's waiting for his turn. We're all drinking down freedom, chasing the burn. Oh, but stay here a while, and I'll make you smile about something. Stay here a while, and I'll make you.
Welcome to Stand Up for Science 2025. Thanks for coming out. My name is Luke Domi, and I'm a lifelong Kansas resident, and my wife, Grace Mapes, is over here. She's the owner of 785 Magazine. And we signed up to make this thing happen today because at its core, the administration's attack on science is an attack on the foundations of truth. I'll be sticking to prepared remarks because if I go off, it won't be pretty. And Astra per Astra, to the stars through difficulties. How do we get to the stars? Science. The difficulties? There are many. But before we get too far along, I just want to thank David again for coming back to Topeka to perform his music for us. I want to thank the speakers for taking the time and energy to join this nationwide event. We have Dr. Lindsay Abadias and Mike Weibel who will be speaking after this. It's likely we'll be wrapped up well before we're on. And at the end of the remarks, Grace will take the mic and give out a call to action for some of this information we have over here. To begin, it's painful to look around to see that our president has acted in bad faith to lead this country, and he's lashing out at the framework of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It would appear our Kansas delegation to the U.S. Congress, save for one, was willing to cede their powers outlined in Article 1 to the executive branch. As the Congress dithers about these cuts and terminations go unchecked or unbalanced. For example, one day the National Nuclear Security Administration workers were among hundreds of employees in the Energy Department terminated by Musk's Doge, then rehired when someone apparently dug up and smelled the uranium. And now our Kansas delegates to Congress, save for one, are being directed to hold those town halls with their constituents as the administration has placed its plays. The paid actors are showing up to derail their town halls. If there are any paid actors here, I don't know who the hell's paying you because I ain't got that kind of cash. The actions of this administration have intentionally been put in motion to stoke fear and try to silence anyone in their way, and to an extent their diabolical rampage through the civil service and federal agencies is working. Some folks I reached out to understandably are reticent to publicly speak on these topics. The chill in the air is real, but we're here to try to speak up for folks who can and to let the people in that building know we see them not only allowing the attacks on our institutions and destroying people's lives quite literally, but also seeking to pass laws right inside there to aid and abet these destructive tactics in Kansas. That said, let's organize. Science seeks to learn, to adapt understandings, to prove that this is this, that is not, or this and that can exist simultaneously. It seeks truthful knowledge of the universe around and within us. A little fun fact to break up the bad news. Helium was first identified in 1868 by astronomers studying the sun. It's the second most common element in the universe, with only hydrogen being more abundant. Here on Earth, helium is a non-renewable natural resource that is mostly recovered from natural gas deposits. It was first discovered on Earth in 1903 when an exploratory well drilled in Kansas produced a gas that, quote, refused to burn. Geologic conditions in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas make the natural gas in these areas some of the most helium-rich in the world, and that's according to the Bureau of Land Management. So what do we need? An uncensored and inclusive and fully funded approach to science has advanced this country and the world so far, so fast, that we don't have to go back many centuries, we don't have to go back many decades, though we don't have to go back 5 minutes to see what a world without scientific research and advancement looks like. And if this Trump-Musk or Musk-Trump rampage through the federal government continues, we may be feeling what life without scientific research and development really is. I jumped into this event fairly late. I saw the word on social media that there would be a nationwide rally with the main event, which is happening right now in D.C. I noticed Kansas wasn't on the map, but Kansas plays an important role in this nation's scientific community, and did not be included just in Sitwell, so here we are. And I think I heard somebody come in all the way from Hayes, which is a hell of a drive. So the president's guesswork is absolutely an unsound way to move a nation forward or promote stability in the hemisphere. Our neighbors to the north and south are mobilized against us for one reason only: Trump et al. Our president has a mind to colonize, and we cannot go back to those days. As recently as yesterday, it was reported across news outlets that Trump, with Musk present, directed his cabinet that his cabinet members are now in charge of their agencies, and that Musk is only to advise on possible actions. Like the weather around here, the state of Trump's mind changes with little warning. I'm not much of a speaker, but that's okay, because Trump ain't much of a president. I live and work in Topeka and have a high school diploma, but I also have children and grandparents and relatives who are affected every day by the radical restrictions and attacks on our civil rights and liberties. I know science and its aims across disciplines from anatomy to astronomy to zoology have made our world in large part a healthier and more intelligent place to live. That's why I asked these other Kansans over here to speak today. This president wants to censor whole groups of people out of existence, including the damn U.S. Congress. The fact that he's said it and pursued it and hasn't been stopped puts us all that much closer to being participants in genocides of our own neighbors and families, and the hate is applied to the sciences. And you and I suffer, and my family suffers, and my neighbors suffer. I think that's why most of you are here. We save us. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for showing each other Americans are not sitting down while a racist, sexist administration tortures immigrants, strips healthcare rights, plays at invading allies, extorts you, and abuses and defames the U.S. Constitution for profit. Thank you for being here, and thank you for saving us. So, what can we do here today? We've drawn up letters identifying the policy concerns outlined by this particular nationwide event. They outline the issues that hold back progress and insult the generations of work scientists, researchers, and students have done to allow our species to beat the odds against disease, famine, and so much more. Science gets our state the buildings we see around us. Science gets us the relatives who might be disabled, succeeding in ways they might not. MAGA dismisses science, yet steals and maligns a scientific theory and survival of the fittest. In their theory, Darwinism is a flag and a ball bat. But these podcasters and charlatans running amok in Trump's administration don't realize what they call their mandate fails to account for a third of the voting public who chose not to vote for either of the two major parties. And while the Trump home shopping brand may fool some into thinking they'd be welcome at his country club, we can see by his announcement of $5 million gold immigration cards that he views our rights as nothing more than another financial opportunity. What does it have to do with science, and what is the threat to science? I'm going to read straight from the site for this nationwide rally and the policy goals so that everybody here knows what they are. Our policy goals: on March 7th, 2025, we rally to defend science as a public good and pillar of social, political, and economic progress. We call on policymakers, institutions, and the scientific community to uphold the integrity of science, protect its accessibility, ensure its benefits serve all people. To achieve this, we seek the three following policy actions. 1. End censorship of political interference in science. Science thrives on open inquiry and evidence-based decision-making. We demand an end to government censorship, prohibit all forms of political censorship in scientific research, including restrictions on the topics of scientific research that are eligible for federal funding. It includes the restoration of public access to scientific information, restore all scientific data, reports, and resources on federal websites to pre-January 31st, 2025 status, ensure full public access to primary scientific sources. Protection of research independence. Mandate legal safeguards against political interference to preserve the integrity of federal research and communication. A commitment to freedom of scientific expression. Protect scientists' rights to communicate their findings freely without fear of retaliation or suppression. Secure and expand scientific funding. This is number 2. Secure and expand scientific funding. Publicly funded science drives innovation, strengthens the economy, and improves lives. We demand restoration of federal research funding. Reinstate federal funding for scientific research across all disciplines to fiscal year 2024 levels and commit a 20% increase in federal scientific funding over the next 3 years, followed by annual increases indexed to inflation to ensure sustained scientific advancement. Reinstatement of wrongfully dismissed federal employees. Rehire all unlawfully terminated scientists and administrators at federal agencies, including, but not limited to, the NSF, NIH, CDC, EPA, NOAA, NPS, NWS, NASA, FWS, and FDA, with full back pay and benefits. Removal of the 15% cap on indirect funding for NIH-funded grants and reinstatement of indirect funding policies as they existed prior to January 1, 2025. And number 3, defend diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in science. Science is strongest when it includes everyone. Attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility are attacks on science itself. We demand preservation of equitable access to STEM. Maintain and expand federal programs that broaden participation in STEM training and careers. Protection for minoritized scientists. Enforce anti-discrimination protections for minoritized scientists to ensure equitable participation and impact. Reinstatement of DEIA initiatives. Restore all DEIA programming within federal agencies to pre-January 1, 2025 status, ensuring continued progress towards equity. Science is for everyone. Science keeps us safe and enables us to live longer, healthier lives. We call on leaders at every level, regardless of political affiliation, to champion and protect scientific research, education, and communication for the progress, prosperity, and well-being of all. I'll leave you with this quote from Carl Sagan. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. And I say this as Kansas. We are strong enough to call the bamboozle what it is, and if we fell for it, we're strong enough to admit to ourselves and move forward from it. How much bullshit is enough? We just took one more cross-pagan gem. It pays to keep an open mind, but not so open your brains fall out. Now, we got Dr. Lindsay Nunez.
Very hard to follow. It's so wonderful to see you all out here today. Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot. I love your signs. I love you holding them against the wind, trying to take them from you. So here, not only here, but around the country, thousands of people are gathering to defend science as a public good and as a pillar of social, political, and economic progress. I work in higher education. I'm a social scientist. But you don't need to be a scientist to be affected by what's happening right now and to be concerned about the future of science in our country. I'm here because science has saved my life on more than one occasion. I was born with a heart defect, and for my entire life, my cardiologist had used echocardiograms and other technologies to monitor my condition. As a result, I've lived a full and healthy life. Also, I traveled extensively abroad, and vaccines have kept me safe from terrible diseases. We all have stories like this. I encourage you to think through these stories and share them with your representatives. Stand Up for Science has 3 important goals, as we just talked about: to restore research funding, to end political interference in science, and to defend inclusion and accessibility in science. First, we really need funding to be restored and increased. In the information age, societies are the strongest when they invest in the production of knowledge. I have numerous colleagues who have been affected by the funding freezes and the firings at NIH, NIJ, and NSF. To many people, these agencies seem distant and mysterious, but to me and other researchers, they're an essential part of what we do. When I was earning my PhD 10 years ago, I received a dissertation grant from the NSF to support my field research. In the grand scheme of things, it's a very tiny amount of money, less than $10,000, but it meant everything to me. It allowed me to conduct a good, solid study. I have a friend and colleague who has an NIJ grant to gather data and create a computer program to help forensic scientists identify bodies faster, so that loved ones of disappeared persons can get closure and victims can get justice. This is just one small example of how people benefit directly from federally funded research without even realizing it. Second, we need to end political political interference in science. I've been appalled to see the administration attempting to insert itself into scientific research, especially given the astounding lack of experience in the entire executive branch. The only people qualified to assess the quality of science is peers, is other scientific peers. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of assessing peer research through journals, through scholarships, through reviewing grant applications. And this is all unpaid work, volunteer work that we do because we care about the integrity of our disciplines. So I'm a sociologist, meaning that I study social behavior. And my discipline is one of the ones that has been under direct attack in recent years. Perhaps some of you have seen the headlines or read about the removal of sociology and anthropology from curricula in other states. This is because the social sciences teach people to examine the patterns in their own and others' behavior. We teach people to look to history in order to understand the present. And we teach people to be skeptical of power structures and political messaging. As a result, we tend to resist power structures that benefit the few at the expense of the many, and we recognize the value of collective action, such as this. We call attention to power structures, whether they be laws, traditions, or organizational forms, and we imagine what it would look like to dismantle or transform them. No wonder the powerful hate us. But we will not be intimidated into silence.
Hell no!
Moreover, the government must restore and maintain access to all publicly funded data. As taxpayers, you and I, we all have the right to access the data collected by the government. You paid for it with your taxes. And that includes climate data from NOAA, population data from the Census Bureau, health data from the NIH, and much, much more. These valuable data sets allow scientists to track trends and make predictions, saving lives in the process. They also make science accessible to organizations and individuals who don't have lots of resources for collecting data. And so it's an entry point for scientists and researchers from really any background. Finally, we need to stand up for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the sciences. Not only because these are core values in a free society, but also because science benefits from many perspectives. American universities rose to international dominance in the 20th century, in part because they welcomed scientists who were fleeing persecution in Germany. Today, students from all over the world come to study at American universities, seeking degrees in all levels and in all fields, including my husband, who's over there. But political attacks on higher ed have damaged our international reputation. Faculty from a variety of backgrounds bring unique insights into their labs and classrooms, contributing to the exchange of ideas that leads to scientific progress. I have seen this in action myself many times. Science is inherently meritocratic, and social systems are inherently unequal. So when we pay attention to inequalities in science, we can all benefit. For example, scientists are building more diverse genetic databases to improve medical research and treatment. And farmers around the world are incorporating indigenous knowledge to improve crop yields in the face of climate challenges. I will conclude with a plea to everyone. Please tell your representatives to let us do our research. Let us teach in our areas of expertise. Trust us to know what we're doing, because we do. Fully fund research in all areas of inquiry. Let's reach out to your friends and family and researchers and teachers and express your support and solidarity. It's hard to be under attack and to feel that your work has no value and no merit after you've trained for years and years and put effort into becoming an expert in your field. So it doesn't seem like much, but it means so much to have that support. Let's allow American universities to continue being the envy of the world. Thank you.
All right, next up is Mike Weibel. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience and how all this affects his past work.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Weibel. Retired work, got over 32 years of service out there. I was a non-traditional nursing and safety and health for years and years. factors here. I want to talk a little bit about who uses these funds and what does research do for us. Because a lot of people don't realize, for the working class out there, people working in the factories, working out in your yard gangs and stuff, that would actually have the research, these fundings from the government actually helps each and every one of us. As an adjunct faculty member of the University of Cincinnati, as well as from the University of West Virginia, I've taught OSHA, I've taught EP, I teach also industrial hygiene. I used to go through many factories across the land. I've been in the steel industry, the atomic industry, the nuclear industry, and the rubber industry. I've been part of epidemiologies as part of my